This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in. It is another off-season edition on the IdahoSports.com Prepcast Network. It's an off-season edition of the East Idaho Prepcast, this time on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account, as well as audio only at IdahoSports.com and wherever you download your podcasts. Even though this is an East Idaho Prepcast interview, this will be published in all of our Prepcast feeds, North Idaho, Magic Valley, and Treasure Valley as well. It's what we're doing all summer long, some cross promotion. So my name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring in our East Idaho resident and expert. Of course, weekly followers of the East Idaho Prepcast know this name, but maybe in other parts of the state, still a little unknown. It is Sean Kane from the great city of Pocatello. Sean, what's going on?
Oh man, I don't know about that intro. I feel like I'm pretty well known across the state, but no, I'm just joking. Things are good. Summer's engaged. As Brandon usually mentions, I'm also a teacher, so I've got a little time off here, and it's been lovely. Lovely, yeah, I can say.
Summer vacay. I know you've got some plans to get away here in a couple of days, which is always nice in the summertime for sure. Sean is a teacher at Century High School and also the boys and girls varsity tennis coach at Century. And of course, wasn't that long ago, Sean, that you won the 4A boys tennis championship this year. Congratulations once again.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's good. It's always good feeling, and just super proud of that team and those boys, and everyone worked really hard. So, you know, congrats to their parents and their cousins and everyone who helped contribute. It's not just me. It definitely takes a village.
For sure. Behind you, for those that are watching on the video, Sean, you've got your racket stringing machine. What's the official name for that bad boy?
Stringing machine.
Okay. I wanted to, I'm not a tennis nut, so I make sure I got it right.
No, it's a super inexpensive one, and they're not really inexpensive, but someone donated it to me and I use it. And then over here is I have a big TV down here in the basement. So I used to have this in the workroom, but I moved it out here. So I put on some Netflix or something, or a podcast, and string. So yeah, we got that out here for the summer. Everyone seems to need it. Their rackets strung right now.
Yeah, it's that big blue thing that's behind Sean there. You mentioned Netflix. Netflix, one of the big things they're trying this year is a baseball documentary. They are following my favorite team, the Boston Red Sox, for an entire season, and then they'll air it next year in 2025. And they're always looking for what's the next team we're going to follow. Well, after the interview we do today, they might want to call up the Highland Rams and go, hey, Netflix is interested in following you guys. I'm so happy, Sean, to bring on our guest here for this offseason interview. It is Christian Colonel, the head baseball coach at Highland High School in Pocatello. Coach Colonel, welcome. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I feel like the odd man out here. Of course, you live in Pocatello and Sean lives in Pokey. I used to live in Pokey, but I moved up north now, so I'm out of the loop.
That counts.
Right. I did a 5-year stretch down there in Pocatello. So we appreciate you coming on, Coach. You have led a very fascinating life in terms of you were a great baseball player. Now you're onto the coaching side of things. And I really just wanted to give our audience a chance to get to know you a little bit better. So let's start with, you grew up and attended American Falls High School. What was that like as a kid?
It was awesome. I love it. I love the small town community. Everything about it was great. You know, I think we had 95 kids in our graduating class, maybe 400 kids in the whole school. Everybody knew everybody, right? You know, that was in the 90s. We rode our bikes around town, no cell phones. We had to communicate face to face. We had to ride home on our bikes, call somebody, remember each other's phone numbers. I loved it. You know, got to play all the sports. That's one thing about growing up in a small town, small community, small high school. You know, it's you don't have to specialize in sports. It seems you can play everything. And that's what I did. Football, basketball, baseball, ran track. Yeah, I loved it, man. I love American Falls, Idaho.
And back when you were at American Falls, the Beavers were pretty good and pretty competitive in most sports, right? They really had it going on over there.
You know what? Our entire conference was competitive. It was actually pretty stacked. Snake River had won like 70 football games in a row or something with Harrison, and they had Spencer Toon and a bunch of dudes over there. Bear Lake was very, very good in everything, football, basketball, baseball, especially in my class. They had some fast dudes, athletic dudes. Marsh Valley was always tough to play in every sport. Let's see, we had Soda Springs, and they were up and coming, and they were getting really good at things. And then you had Preston, and Preston was freaking stacked. I remember my freshman year, sophomore year, they had a dude, Ben Huser, who was just like a beast on the basketball court, the football field, and the baseball field. And Preston was really good. I think that was all of them. Am I missing Snake River, Bear Lake, Marsh Valley, Preston, Soda, and American Falls? Yeah, it was a very competitive conference.
And in some form or fashion, all of those teams will be in the conference again next year, with the exception of Soda Springs. Bear Lake's moving up in all the sports. Preston is playing down in volleyball. I'm still getting used to all of the new teams and the new conferences and everything, for sure. So your sophomore year, you helped American Falls win the state baseball championship. Is that right?
That was Legion.
Oh, Legion. Okay.
Legion, yeah. My sophomore year of high school, we went to state. We won. I think we played in the third place game. We won, we lost. But Legion, in 98, we won the state championship, went on to regionals and stuff like that. For Legion, we combined with Marsh Valley, and we had a team called Marsh Falls. And our head coach was James Chandler, who was a great dude. He passed away. He's a great dude. It's a fun time to be alive around him.
Where was regionals at? Where did you get to go play?
We were somewhere in Washington. I can't remember exactly where it was. And I think we went like 3-3 or something like that.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it's rigorous when you get to state and regionals and Legion ball. You play a lot of games because you can challenge all the way back through potentially. A true double elimination. Yeah. Marsh Valley went to regionals a couple of years ago, and their regionals was in Alaska. That's a little bit of a different experience.
That's wild. That would have been fun.
Yeah. And then you moved on to college. You played at the College of Southern Idaho for 2 seasons, and the JUCO did exactly what it was supposed to do, right? Got you on the map and got you to a bigger school. Yeah. So after high school, I really didn't have a lot of offers. I mean, I don't think I had, but maybe one offer. I think it was to Albertsons at the time, College of Idaho. And I kept going to the CSI winter camp, and I'd go to the CSI winter camp from 7th, 8th and on in high school. And that's how I kind of got a lot of FaceTime with those coaches at CSI. And they offered me a partial scholarship, something like that. And so I went there and I had to earn my keep, right? I had to prove myself. And I just wanted an opportunity. So I went the JUCO route, had a really pretty good freshman year. And it was Woodbat. It's a Woodbat conference. And I graduated high school at about 6'2", 175. So I had to put on some weight, get some muscle, get in the weight room. And back in the 90s or early 2000s, the weight room wasn't as, necessary as it is now. It should have been, but it just wasn't, we didn't pay attention to the weight room as much. But once I got into college, I started to gear up towards that. And I put on like 30 pounds my sophomore year and had a really good sophomore year. And then I was drafted by the New York Mets out of CSI in the 9th round. And at the time I had signed a letter of intent at Texas Tech University. And so it was a couple months of going back and forth what I was going to do in the summer of 2002, I believe, summer 2002, if I was going to sign or if I was going to go back to college and go fulfill like my D1 commitment. And I chose to go to college. And then luckily I had a pretty good year at Texas Tech and went in the 5th round with the Rockies the next year. So it paid off that way. Sean, I was going to say the Mets came calling and he fled because he knows what a dumpster fire the Mets organization has been, right?
But what interesting, to take that route and then kind of get your stock up a little higher, right, to go in a higher round, because a lot of it comes down to how high you go in that draft. To you probably as a young buck didn't want to go and sit around and do nothing. You wanted the opportunity to play, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah, it was a tough decision because my goal, right, was, growing up, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I wanted to play professional baseball. That's my dream. And out of College of Southern Idaho, I was drafted by the Mets, and it was just a surreal feeling. Um, like I have this opportunity and go in the top 10 rounds. And back then there was 50 rounds. So the top 10 rounds, I was like, wow. And I think the drafts, the round that I was drafted in, the slot, the money was like $85,000 they offered me, which is a lot of money to a 20-year-old. And but I knew I had a good opportunity at Texas Tech, and if I invested in myself and trusted myself and get another year of education in at Texas Tech, but if I go play very well in D1 and the Big 12, then my stock should go up. And that's what I did. Played pretty well. I started off a little rough, but I'm kind of one of those players that, I don't get going fast, but it's like a little marathon. Over the course, a good player is going to have a good season. So that's kind of what I did. Had a good year and went in the 5th round.
Yeah. And before we get too far, let me ask, what position were you primarily playing when all this was happening?
So in high school and then at CSI, I played shortstop, and then I went to Texas Tech and I got moved to third base, first base, kind of utility. And that's what I played in pro ball, utility.
Yeah. So let's talk about your journey. Like so many others, you're going to these towns and communities you probably never heard of. And
right.
They point somewhere on the map and say, okay, you're going there.
Right.
Take us through your minor league journey.
Feels like a lifetime ago. I'll tell you that for sure. It started 21 years ago. First, when I signed, then I went to Tucson, Arizona for instructional camp or extended spring training or something in June for just like a week. And then they shipped me off to, where was it? I was in Washington. So it was the Tri-Cities, and that was my first year. And that was 2003. And then in the fall of 2003, I went back to Tucson, Arizona for instructional fall camp. 2004, go to spring training back to Arizona. And then 2004, I was in Asheville, North Carolina for the year, and Low A. And then 05, I was in Modesto, California. 06, I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 07, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Modesto, California was high A, then Oklahoma was double A. And I was in Tulsa for 2 years there. And then 2008 and 2009, I was in AAA in Colorado Springs with the Rockies so my 6 years with the Rockies, those are the cities that I was in. And then, 2008 and 2009, I was in big league spring training. And in 2007, in 2007, I played in the Arizona Fall League, which was huge. It was like a bunch of prospects and then me. And I got invited somehow. Not quite sure how, but I got invited and I played. And then 2008, I played in the Venezuelan Winter Ball League, and that was a great experience for 3 months. It was just a great ride. And then in 2009, I became a free agent with the Rockies, and I signed with the Red Sox for 2010. And then after I left the Rockies organization, 2010 and 2011, it was just kind of a mess. I think I was with 6 different teams in those 2 years. So I would get released and picked up, released and picked up, released and picked up. And it was just, it was wild.
It's a lot to handle for sure. So you mentioned Arizona Fall League for our listeners that don't know baseball quite as well. That's essentially like the all-stars of prospects. Teams will combine. So you'll have like Seattle, Colorado, the Mets, the Yankees, the Marlins will have their best prospects all on one team. There's only like 5 or 6 teams that all play each other, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What was Venezuela like?
It was fun, man. They love baseball, and I was in Caracas. It was a little bit dangerous and a little sketchy, but for the most part, for the American baseball players, it was fairly safe. I mean, I just went to the hotel to the field. I didn't really venture out. At the time, it was going through some things with the government and stuff down there. And so I just went to the hotel and to the field, but I love my teammates. I love the community. The baseball games were fun. 25,000 people. They just love their baseball, and they love their Americans that came down and trusted to go play in their country. And so they took care of us, and it was a lot of fun. Really good baseball too.
Yeah, your journey kind of reminds me of that show Eastbound and Down. Have you ever seen that with
Yes.
Kenny Powers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
A lot of
derailing.
similarities.
No, I'm just joking. He goes down there. Anyways, if anyone's ever seen that, it's
Yeah, that's a good one.
Don't watch
Yeah.
it.
Good show, for sure. About a minor league baseball player or a former professional baseball pitcher that ends up pitching in Mexico. Okay, so let's talk about big league spring training. You're like at the front door almost, and you're hanging out with big league players. Are there any spring training memories that stand out to you?
So in 2000, one of my good buddies, and I'm going to name drop, but he's one of my good buddies, is Troy Tulowitzki, played in the big leagues for a long time. Anyways, we lived together in spring training in 2008, and I couldn't afford like where these guys were living and stuff. The only way I could afford to like rent this home with them is because I won his fantasy football league the year before. So he said, if you win my fantasy football league, I'll let you live with us in spring training, because they were living in this huge house, right? It's him and like 4 other big leaguers, and then me riding their coattails. But anyways, that was fun. Spring training was a great time. In 2008, I had a really good spring training. I was either starting. I actually led the team in innings played. I would come in for Todd Helton, usually in the 4th inning, 5th. He would get 2 at-bats, and then I'd come in for Helton or Garrett Atkins at third base. He'd get a couple of bats, and I'd go in. Or I'd start on their days off, and I actually had a really good spring training. I made the final cut. They take 25 guys to the big leagues back then. I'm not quite sure how many they take now, but I made the final cut, not the final cut, but I made the cut to go play in the exhibition game with them, to fly up from Tucson to Las Vegas to play the Mariners. And I ended up going 2 for 2 in the exhibition game. And they pulled me in the office. It was Clint Hurdle at the time. And he pulled me and he said, hey, we're going to send you down to AAA, but you start off like you're doing right now, and you'll be one of the first ones called up. So, that was a good experience. But I went to AAA, and then a lot of things started happening outside of baseball, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. What were the emotions of getting so close? And then, because this happens to thousands of people, right, just like you, that are so close to that dream of going to the show, and it ends just at the doorstep.
So at the time, I didn't really think much of it, because I'm always thinking I'm going to get to the big leagues. It's inevitable. I'm going to get there. It just, right now is not the time, right? I'm close. Okay. I'm still in this world, this industry. I'm going to get to the big leagues. It really didn't hit me until I was done. Like, once I get home, the last 10, 11 years, people always asking me, hey, you played in the big leagues? I'm like, no, I was in the minor leagues. I wanted just really one day to play in the big leagues, so I could tell everybody that's asked me these thousands of times, you're the guy that played in the major leagues. Well, no, actually, I was in the minor leagues. If I got one day in the big leagues, I could just say yes, and life would be much easier. But so it didn't really hit me till afterwards, after my career was over, that how close I was, and pretty far.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're back down at AAA, and some off the field things started stacking up. Is that when you've been pretty open, and we're going to talk about it? You've been pretty open about your struggles with alcohol addiction and alcoholism. And real quick, how long have you been sober for now, Christian?
10.5 years.
Incredible. That's
you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. When did those problems start?
Well, I'd always kind of been a drinker, and then and never really knew when to shut it off. And then in the professional baseball world, if you're a drinker and you like to go out, you don't have to be to the field till the next day at like 2:00, right? So game time, first pitch is 7:00 every day, unless it's a travel day or a Sunday day game or something like that. So it really was, that lifestyle did not help my alcoholism. I mean, no excuse, but it kind of helped it thrive, right? So I could have a couple drinks every night. And then it just kind of compounded and grew and progressed. And then in 2009, when I went down to AAA, I started to kind of go through a divorce. Started to feel sorry for myself of not being in the big leagues. Started to get this ego thing, and I never really played with an ego. I'd always just played with a chip on my shoulder, like, hey, I'm a small town dude from Idaho. I've got to go prove my worth. And now I felt like I had a couple good years. I'd proved it a little bit. Now I'm kind of playing like with this ego, which I shouldn't have been playing like that. But I started drinking every night, and I actually lived in the clubhouse in 2009. So that was just a bad environment. I don't know why I lived in the clubhouse at the time. Well, like I had an apartment at Colorado Springs, and then had an apartment at home, or had a place at home for my wife and my son at the time. And then I started to stay at the clubhouse. So I would just sleep at the clubhouse in the video room and drink whiskey just about like every night. And I never left the clubhouse. And then I'd wake up and, the clubhouse manager was cleaning the clubhouse. And it was just a bad time in my life, with a lot of drinking and a lot of excuses to have a pity party in my life. And then I'd get in fights with my manager about playing time or how I was conducting my business, or I was just a mess. And I just drank every night, and it didn't help at all. Obviously my performance, and then my relationships on and off the field. It was just a bad time for me.
And then the one thing you've been doing your whole life, baseball, is over. Your career is finished. And now what happens with the alcohol problems?
So in 2009, after the season 2009, I became a free agent in 2010. So I signed with the Red Sox. I'd had really good years with the Rockies, so I had a good resume. So I knew I was going to get picked up. I knew I was going to sign a pretty good contract with the Red Sox. I mean, it's a minor league contract. You get paid while you play. So if you get released, you're not getting money. Anyways, I go to spring training, and one day I get called up to the big leagues in spring training, go play a big league game with the Red Sox. And I remember, so the minor league complex and the big league complex with the Red Sox down in Fort Myers were a couple miles away from each other. And I'd been in the minor league complex. So I got called up. They said, all right, be to the bus at 6 a.m. tomorrow. We're going to play the Astros. I'm like, all right, great. So, and I was still drinking. So I went out, drank, and I'm late to the bus the next morning. Well, I get there at 5:55 in the morning because I woke up late because I was hungover. I get to the bus at 5:55 in the morning, and Terry Francona, their manager at the time, Tito, he was like sleeping on the bus, like laying down. So I had to kind of climb over him, and he raises up and he goes, "Are you Colonel?" And I'm like, "Yep." And he goes, "All right, last one on the bus, huh?" And I'm like, yeah, last one. Didn't think much of it. Go to play the Astros. I'm the only one that doesn't play. And then I got released that night from the Red Sox because, I wasn't responsible. I went and drank the night before and late to the bus. And I wasn't late. I was just the last one there. And it just looked terrible. So anyways, I get released by the Red Sox. I get picked up by the Blue Jays the next day. Go to Vegas to play AAA with the Blue Jays. And so now I'm in Vegas for a month. Vegas, with my lifestyle, that's not going to work. I was actually hitting really well, but I would show up to the field shaky all day. And I was playing terrible defense. I was actually leading the team in batting average. I was hitting 360, but I was playing terrible defense. And I kind of developed like this anxiety because I was hungover and just not healthy. So I was released by the Blue Jays. Then I got picked up by the Padres, sent to AAA in Portland. This is all within 2 months. And then I was in Portland for 3 weeks in AAA, and then I got sent down to San Antonio in AA with the Padres, and I was in San Antonio for 2 months with the Padres. Now I'm back in AA, and I'm like 28 at the time or something, and I'm kind of the backup utility guy, so I'm not playing every day. So now I'm drinking even more because I know I don't have to play every day or whatever. And yeah, it was just a bad time. And then I get released by the Padres. I go play 1 week of independent ball in Maryland. And this is August. And then I get picked up by the Braves, and I go to Pearl, Mississippi in August of 2010, play really well with the Braves. And then I become a free agent again. 2011, signed with the Pirates because Clint Hurdle's now the manager over there. He did me a favor. Go down to Bradenton, Florida for spring training, get released the last day of spring training, get picked up by the White Sox, go to Birmingham, Alabama, and play a couple months with them. And I'm just a mess still. I'm just drinking too much. And they finally released me. I get home and, I told my agent, I'm like, this is just too much. I'm just ready to be done, ready to be home. The Cardinals called me and said, hey, we'll send you to Springfield, Missouri, AA. And I was like, nope, done. And I knew once I said I was done, that window was closed. I was just tired of, letting baseball get in the way of my drinking, which is crazy, right? I was just tired of, that lifestyle, not the drinking part. I was just tired of having obligations. And so then I came home in 2011 and drinking, just kept drinking, got 2 DUIs. Family was a mess, obviously divorced at the time. Now I'm probably going to lose custody of my son. I'm just a mess. Relationships, failed out of ISU because I went back to school, and now I have legal problems. Now I'm a mess. I'm a joke. And I got my last DUI December 31st, 2013. Woke up the next day with one of my buddies that was a deputy. He's tapping me on the forehead with a flashlight, and he's like, you did it again. And I was like, oh man. And checked into rehab January 4th. And the rest is history, man. I said, this is embarrassing. Don't want to lose my son. And if I'm very ambitious and driven and disciplined when I put my mind to something, like if I want to be a professional baseball player, that's what I'm going to do. Well, I told myself originally it took a long time, but how am I going to stop drinking? Drinking's everywhere around me. That's been my lifestyle. But once I flipped the switch and said, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be the non-drinker. And so once I did that, and just, it took a lot of, rehab, a lot of probation, a lot of counseling, a lot of AA meetings, and a lot of humbling and, swallowing my ego. But here we are 10 years later. It's hard to believe, actually.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's a daily thing. It's something that you're every day is a step towards progress. And so again, just congratulations on a
thank you.
Outstanding run.
What an amazing journey. And just that you remember all those dates is blowing my mind.
So that's funny. My girlfriend, she says all the time, she's like, how do you remember dates? Like, how do you remember these things? And I'm like, I don't know, but I know exactly where I was in what year, what town, what baseball team. That's just kind of how my life was. It was just by dates and teams, years and teams. And that's how it's always been. So I just remember them, where I was, what team, what year. And it's
kind of
never forget it.
Kind of a sports mind, right? I remember a lot of dates that aren't as exciting as the dates I should remember do the sport.
Right.
So those things you remember very harshly, and they don't
go remember
away.
Games and remember opponents.
Oh yeah. But
it doesn't go away.
Congratulations on that, and that's awesome, and you've done just a fantastic job. And man, what a wealth of life lessons you've got to teach your players and everyone. I mean, that's an endless well. Like, you're going to fall in and never get out with all that knowledge and able to help those kids. Yeah,
that's the plan. I appreciate it. Whenever it comes up, I'm very open with it. And, I'm not hiding anything. I'm like, well, there's options out there, and this is what your life could look like. I mean, you got to just think it through. And that's like, I think everything through now. Like, if I have one drink of this glass of wine, well, that's going to end up me drinking 3 bottles of wine and driving or getting in a fight or being an idiot. Like, this is not worth it, because I can't drink in moderation. I can't do basically anything in moderation. So I've just got to check myself and think it through. And now I'm 10 and a half years, and it doesn't even faze me, right? It just doesn't even faze me.
Yeah, it's incredible. And now you and Sean parallel each other a lot, where you have a great relationship with your son. Sean has a couple of kids.
Right.
you work in special education. Sean also works in special education in the Pocatello School District. When did you decide to switch that career track and start giving back to the kids in the community?
Well, I was actually trying to figure out what I was going to get my degree in once I got sober, and then I went back to ISU, and I'd already started getting my degree in sports management. I wanted to be an agent or something. I'm not quite sure why I got that degree. And then I finally graduated, and I'm like, what am I going to do with a sports management degree in Pocatello, Idaho? And I got wind of this program called ABCTE to be a teacher. And I was thinking, well, maybe I could be a PE teacher because that's my background. And then they're like, no, that's not offered with ABCTE. You're going to have to go back to ISU or back to school and get a PE certification and go back to school. And I'm like, oh man, I'm done with school. I don't want to go back to school. So one of the options was special education. And, I'd always had a love for these kids, just like for events we do in pro ball, for bringing kids out with challenges. And I'd always had a love for them. So yeah, I looked into that in 2015 and 16, started that program ABCTE and finished it, was hired. And yeah, I've been at it ever since. And I've fallen in love with the kids. And, as Sean knows, it's tough at a lot of times. There's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of nonsense on the paperwork side. But you got to obviously stay compliant and legal in that way with the state. But the relationships with the kids is what I love. And just, being around them every day, because, a lot of these kids, they have a lot of challenges and unique challenges, and they find people they trust and love, and man, their world opens up. So it's great.
Yeah. It's, you work 180 plus days for graduation, right? It's kind of those end moments when you've had kids for 4 years and you get that graduation. That's a lot of students' Super Bowl, right? I get to experience a Super Bowl every year. Regardless, it's not on the field or anything. So that's pretty exciting. And it's it's a lot of work. And I had kind of a similar path. I went to school. I wanted to be a history teacher. I don't coach football or baseball, so I couldn't get a job. So I kind of fell into special education that way. My mom had always taught it, but it's been great. It's definitely rewarding, but it's kind of like your whole story though. Like all these kids have, you had to make choices, and these kids have to make all kinds of choices every day, and to be able to help with those choices that they have to make is really important. And you need good people to help them do that, because they don't necessarily have the skill sets or other people in their life to help make those choices. So it's super important.
So you're giving back to the community. You're teaching now in special ed, and then you decide to give it back even further and start coaching the Highland baseball team as well. When did you decide that coaching would be something that you wanted to try out?
I always figured, like growing up, that I was going to play Major League Baseball for 20 years. Then I was going to be a high school PE teacher and a baseball coach. Like that's just kind of like, I'm going to go play the big leagues for 15, 20 years and come back and my alma mater and go, be a high school baseball coach and a PE teacher. Once I became a teacher, special ed teacher, I was actually at Pocatello High School. And then one of my buddies, Vinny Benavides, the head coach at Pokey, we were talking about coaching, and he said, well, I need a JV coach. I said, all right, let me give it a shot. And I jumped in 2016 and 17 and was Pokey's JV baseball coach. Had a great year, had fun with the kids, fell in love with it. And then that position at Highland opened up, and Vinny texted me, goes, you better apply for this. I'm like, really? And he said, yeah, go give it a shot. And, Vinny's a great dude and good mentor to learn. He's been there forever. So it was fun to watch him coach and kind of learn how to run the program. Cause running a program, being the head coach, there's a lot more obviously than just coaching, just showing up for the game and showing up for practice, man. There's fundraising, grade reports, personal relationships. It's like with, families, communication. There's just so much more logistics with practice and equipment inventory. I mean, the list goes on. It's just absolutely ridiculous, actually, how much there is to do other than just coaching. And I had no idea. But anyways, Vinny was like, yeah, go apply. So I applied. And luckily I got the position, and yeah, it's been just finished 7 years. It's gone by really quick, and now finally got a field. So that's helped. Like, this year was the first year logistically that I was not as stressed with practice schedules, having 3 teams and winter workouts, and it just opened up a lot of doors for our program. So shout out to Westmark Credit Union.
Yeah, I was going to say the nice thing is one less hurdle you've got to jump over, where for a long time, Pocatello, Century, Highland all shared Hallowell Park, which is a great park and a great facility. But man, you're like jumping through hoops just to get a spot on the field in a game time. And so you guys have your own on-campus field now. Westmark Credit Union stepped up and helped donate for that. And then I really liked what you did this year. You had a big celebration. You invited any Highland alum that had played baseball for the Rams to come back and be a part of this big celebration. Take us through that night and what that meant.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just part of developing and starting a program. Have something that you're proud of, and you want the alumni to be proud of. You wish the alumni could have had this opportunity to play on a field like this. So I just, wanted to have an alumni night and bring guys back. We only had 15 dudes show up, which is fine. I hope it grows and grows and grows, and then we get 30 and then 60 and then 120. I'm going to have to, publish it a little sooner and advertise for alumni night a little sooner than I did last year. It kind of came to me a little late. I think we only, I think what I'm going to have to do is go on to Facebook class reunions and find Highland class reunions.
Uh-oh.
We lost Christian.
He got on Facebook.
Yeah, the alumni groups are already reaching out to him. He might have been on his phone, and maybe the battery died.
I had one good story. I gotta say, Christian, earlier this year, I was at Highland doing some observing, and he was saying how I can hear myself. How it was nice to have the field just to go out and practice, like just outside. So I was just trying to fill in while you were gone there.
Sorry, I got a phone call. Yeah, so just to have a field, because the field, 20 years ago, they had it pretty nice. Then they played up there, but over the years, it just gone to hell, really, to be honest with you. It was dangerous. It was irreparable. It had to be graded, excavated, resodded, just a lot of work. And the watering up there, the irrigation is not, we're working on that. And so for the outfield right now, but I emailed Westmark Credit Union in 2019 or 2020. And I actually drew on a poster board with crayon my vision for what I wanted up there. I said, there's plenty of room up here. This is what we could do. A lot of people, naysayers, said there wasn't enough room and said the field's going to be too small. I said, no, this can work. We can have an iconic field, and there's still work to do. But Westmark reached right back and said, yeah, let's meet. And it was off and running. And so actually, once I got all the bids and the quotes in 2020, and they donated $250,000. And really, in 2020, their donation covered the majority of the project. Well, by the time, everything went through the tape, and the school district approved it and everything, it was 2023. And now the project was going to be like, I don't know, double it. Right. And so now I'm going like, oh, great. And actually the school district really stepped up and helped fill the gap and bridge the gap with the funding. So they did a great job. we were at the, the right place, the right program at the right time. We just got lucky. I guess it was our turn to get some help with the school district because, football field at Pokey, football field, and I think concessions at Century, something was going on out there. So we were just kind of next and just the right time, right place type of thing. So,
hey, Pocatello, whatever school it is, I think everyone's craving to have a place where they can do their thing, right? I don't care if it's Highland. I don't care if it's Pokey. As long as everyone has the facility they need, you can have alumni night or, bring back, because you know what Pokey's good at? Having really good athletes leave.
I know.
We coach. All the football coaches are phenomenal here. We just have a wealth of, I was talking to someone, we just have so many good coaches in every sport here in Pocatello and East Idaho in general. And we coach them. And they do a really good job at leaving, and that's fine, right? College, whatever, but why not give them a reason to come back, right? To come to alumni. And we don't have many of those reasons facility wise here
because we don't have facilities.
And so, yeah, I love that there's a field up there. You can bring them back. I'm hoping more of that stuff can come, because then that's how you get, people want to contribute and be part of the program, and things grow that way. And it grows through having somewhere to do it at. And so I love that field's there. And hopefully, as a community, we continue to get some things we can be proud of.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I mean, we have a great community, great kids, great athletes, great coaches, and we just need facilities to keep, that's at all three high schools, right? We're just lacking facilities. And I think we're going kind of in the right direction the last couple of years. But, we need them.
Yeah. There's no reason we can't be proud of three high schools.
Oh, yeah,
in the city. Everyone could be proud of all three. There's no reason, right? I'm not a homer. I went to Pocatello High School. I student taught at Highland. I coached 2 years at Highland, and now I'm at Century. So I've done tennis at all three high schools. I would love for all the facilities at all three places to be phenomenal, so we can continue to go and beat Boise.
Yeah, we're trying. We need an indoor facility at our place. I'll tell you that, because we're behind the 8 ball with baseball and in spring sports, really, with the indoor facility. It's
anyone. Yeah. Anything in the spring definitely needs a roof.
That's the next project. Try to get some funding for an indoor facility. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you're so good with dates, Christian. What was your first home game this year? I know that was part of the complication of trying to schedule an alumni night, was you had a lot of home games get wiped out because of the weather and stuff, right?
Well, no, our first home game was April 20th. And so I scheduled that on purpose way late, because we still had some renovations to be completed at the field until, for one, the weather, but for two, the field wasn't going to be ready. And so we didn't schedule home games until April 20th. And then we only had 7 of them. Or 6, 7 of them. And then obviously the district tournament we hosted and played there. So I think we ended up with 10, but usually all of March we're toast in Southeast Idaho anyways. So I try to go to Boise a couple times a month in March, or Twin Falls. And then, we just had some things left to do with the field. The turf was complete, but we had to get the home run fence, the windscreen up. We had to do some little things. There's a lot more than just the infield and the home run fence. We had to get the stands, the logistics with the PA system, the backstop. So there were some things to do, and it's still a work in progress. I mean, there's still things that we got to tighten up, because with the new format, with the state tournament, if you win your conference tournament, then you host a super regional. And so then we would have 2 teams from Boise coming down, and we want to have a good facility for them. So there's still some things that we need to do. I need to get a visiting bullpen, because all of last year we have a 2-lane bullpen right now. It's all turf. It's great, but they had to come over and share with us. So we still need to build that. I still need to get some more stands, and our scoreboard is about this big. It's about 10 feet, and then we have a great field, and then we have this little scoreboard. which is fine. We'll take it, but we need another one. And some things need to be done. We're still working on it, and it's always going to be a work in progress.
Yeah, let me ask you just real quick about this new state tournament format that's going to happen next year in baseball, where for the first time the IHSAA is going to take ownership of the event. In the past, it was kind of up to the coaches, or somebody would get nominated to run the tournament. Troy Rice has done it forever at Rocky Mountain High School for the 5As, and now what is 6A. But the new tournament, and you tell me if I'm misinterpreting this, the new 6A tournament, there's going to be 4 super regionals or 3?
4.
It's going to be whoever wins the North, whoever wins the East, and the top 2 teams from Boise, right? They're all going to host.
Right, and three teams in each super regional. Because the regional is going to be the conference tournament. And then you have a super, which 3 teams, and North team will host, East team will host, and 2 West teams will host.
And then from there, the winner of each super regional will advance to state, and it'll be a 4-team true double elimination state tournament.
Right.
You could lose on the first day and come back around and win the championship.
Which is how I think it should be done. And the super regional is double elimination also. So it's not like, go ahead.
Well, and that'll be kind of like state, where you'll come and play on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It won't be like districts where we're going to play on Tuesday and then we'll play on Thursday.
No,
it's all going to be consecutive, right?
Yeah, it'll be 3 or 4 days all in a row. Probably 3 days, I think. I'm not quite sure the dates, but it'll be a true double elimination with 3 teams, and you get after it, and the best team. Because not always the best team wins. It's sometimes the best team, or the team with the best one pitcher, will win that first game, and then they're throwing a dude that's just a little bit more even. But if you have a good pitching staff and a good team and you have some depth, this double elimination format's really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. You were at the last tournament under the old format, as it were, this past year, the 5A state tournament. I was broadcasting it for IdahoSports.com. You were cracking me up. I emailed all the coaches a little questionnaire and asked them to fill it out, kind of some info about their team and stuff. And some of the things you wrote back were hilarious. I asked, what's Highland's biggest weakness? You said Boise Valley pitching.
True. It's the truth, because we don't, they have a lot. They're good. They have a lot of kids, and they have a lot of resources, and they have better weather. And then all of a sudden they got dudes. They just have a bunch of dudes on the mound, and, they're good. They've got good coaching. But over on the east side of the state, we'll get 1 or 2 dudes to face all year round. So when we come to Boise and State, that's why I like to go to Boise early, to face that competition early. And it's just, it's different. They've got more dudes, and that's just how it is. They've just got more dudes. And once you have more dudes, a bigger enrollment, bigger population, you're going to be able to find a lot of good kids. And, like I said, I think in that flyer, and it's like, nobody from California is moving to Pocatello to come hang out at our Costco and stuff. They're moving to Boise Valley because it's hopping over there, which is fine, but like I said, it's not going to get any easier for us, but we're up for the challenge. We love it, but one of our weaknesses is facing those guys day in and day out. The SIC, they face those guys every day. So when they get to the state tournaments, it's nothing, right? So we need to face that every day, whether we're going to win or lose. We need to face that. And so that's one of our weaknesses for sure.
Yeah, that tournament in general, the number 8 seed, Mountain View, took home the 3rd place trophy. The number 7 seed, you guys, Highland, you took home the consolation trophy. That was the first trophy in close to a decade that Highland brought home from the state baseball tournament. What did that feel like?
Oh, that was good. That was good to get that off our back. We had a good team, and tough draw first, but everybody said you had a tough draw to get Oahe first round. And I was like, well, I wanted Oahe. I wanted to play them. I want to be the team to knock them off. I want them first round next year. I want them whatever. I want to play them. They're a great team, and it's fun to play the best. And so we had a good season. Good, like I said, after we lost to Oahe, A lot of teams would pack it in, and that's what we had done before. We'd gone 0-2 a few times, but our boys were just resilient and, went out and took care of Coeur d'Alene and then took care of Middleton, and it was fun. It was a good way to end the season. Great team, best team I've coached, obviously by stat wise, record wise. But yeah, it was a fun way to end the season, and just to build off that too, to show the young guys, what it's going to take. We had a Wahi, we were playing them good for a few innings, 4 or 5 innings, and then just one bad inning. But that's what it takes. Like, you got to play clean baseball and good baseball against the Wahine teams like that for 7 innings, right, to beat them. So you can't have mistakes or have some lapse in judgment. So
yeah. So my question was, what do you say to the boys after that loss to keep them motivated, to continue to go and get some wins? Because I've found personally that's the hardest thing to do in a state tournament, is after you have that loss and you still have to go play another game or play another match. What was your what was kind of the words or any good insights you have into the speech you gave them? Because you guys have had kind of that hurdle for a while and got over it. So I'm guessing it was your speech that got them over it, but that's just me.
Well, I don't know if it was just all my speech, but my guys are hungry. They're a lot of seniors, a very competitive team. And, I just kept emphasizing, seniors, you do not want to, you want to win your last game of the year. I don't care what game it is. You want to win your last game of the year. It does not matter what state tournament, wherever it's at, what part of the state tournament, you just want to win that last game. And, I kept telling and they knew we had a good pitching staff. So I think, I always say we're a day late, dollar short sometimes at Highland with our teams, but because I had a really good team during the pandemic, that season got canceled and I've had some unfortunate things. So I said we needed to have this new format with the team I had this year, because we had a deep pitching staff. We would have been a good double elimination team. But so with that being said, that's how we won those last 2 games. We had a deep pitching staff. We had a lot of guys on the mound, and they threw really well. And we always had a chance. So they're a good bunch of kids.
Yeah, I'm going to steal that. You want to win your last game. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, for sure.
Writing that down. That's a good one. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's a good way to get the guys motivated.
Yeah.
We got a coaching symposium going on here. I like it.
You got to take stuff from the people that are good. I mean, that's how you're a good coach. You don't got to reinvent the wheel.
That's why I got to learn from Russ Wright, how he does all these things.
Yeah, he ended his career by leading Hawaii to its 3rd championship in 3 years as a school, and then retired. It's a pretty good way to do it. So you've had this incredible journey. You grew up playing baseball. You played in the minor leagues. You hit the absolute rock bottom of your life with alcohol addiction. You climbed up out of it. You're teaching and coaching in the community, and that's the end of the story. And then life throws you another curveball. This is something you also put on that questionnaire we sent out. You said, hey, you'll see me walk out to the pitcher's mound, and it might not look like a traditional straight walk out there. It's not a swag thing. I'm not trying to show off. You told me that you have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And so it's just another curveball that life has thrown you.
Yeah, I was diagnosed 2 years ago. So funny. I was FaceTiming one of my buddies, one of my ex-teammates, actually. I was FaceTiming, my hand was shaking. And I'm like, wow, that's a little weird. Maybe I had too many coffees. And then I was taking the trash out, and my left foot, my sandal was not picking up, and it was sliding on my foot right. My foot was dragging a little bit. So I'm like, that's weird. And then a few other things. And then so I went and got checked up, and ended up going to a neurologist in University of Utah and get all the scans. And they diagnosed me with Parkinson's 2 years ago, which at 40 years old, that's a little young for that disease. But so yeah, now everybody asks me, why is your left side not moving? Why are you jogging funny? Why are you a little rigid? And I'm like, well, this is why. So, that when I run out to third base to coach, or when I'm, I've been asked 100 times what's going on. And I figured that would probably come up. on the broadcast or something like, hey, Colonel's running a little funny. He must hurt his back last night or something, lifting weights. And so that's why I told you. But yeah, it's just another bump in the road, but quality of life is still good. I can still, coach and teach, and just definitely not as athletic as before. And the motor skills are getting a little tough. And like, I've been moving around here. I don't know if you'd notice in the podcast, but I move around a little bit more, a little squirrely. And it's funny because I try to make humor is part of my life. And so I coach a 10U team too. And some of them don't know how to tie their shoes. And they're like, Coach, hey, Colonel, or they call me Christian. They're like, can you come tie my shoes? I'm like, sure. And now it's getting tougher with me because my left hand doesn't work as well. And I'm like, boys, we got to start going Velcro Nikes because I'm not able to tie your shoes anymore. So you're going to need to learn how to tie your shoes by 11U, or we're going Velcros next year because my motor skills are not what they once were. So yeah, it'll be all right though. There's always new technology, new invention, or new medications coming out with, a lot of things in the future. So we're just going to stay the course, and hopefully it doesn't progress too much, but it has definitely progressed in the last 2 years a little bit. But quality of life is good, and there's definitely worse situations out there. And I'm pretty blessed.
Yeah, your spirit definitely not dampened at all by this. And like you said, quality of life, you live every day to its absolute fullest. And that's something I think we can all learn from you and take away from that. I wanted to wrap up by asking you about your son. You described him as your best friend, and you guys do a lot together. And just tell us a little bit about your son, how old he is, and the relationship you have with him.
So his name's Cooper. He'll be a junior. He's 16 years old. He was on the Highland JV team this year. We do pretty much everything together. His mom and I, we split custody. It's week on, week off. We have a great relationship, and he has a great relationship with her, and we're family oriented, and he's a great kid, good student, just a polite kid. Couldn't be more proud of him, and on and off the field. And, we're going to actually this fall start looking into schools. He doesn't want to play college baseball. He just wants to go on and be a student, which is fine. I'm not trying to push that on him. If he loves it, he loves it. If not, whatever. But he's just, ready to go to school. So we're going to go look at some schools this fall. He wants to go somewhere warm. And I keep teasing him all the time. I'm like, hey, buddy, wherever you go to school, I'm moving with you. He's like, no, Dad, you can't do that. I was like, yeah, we'll just go to dinner once a week on the weekend or something. I just want to be close by. He's like, no, you're not doing that. So yeah, it's going to be hard. Like every parent, I think, the last 16 years, my schedule has revolved around his a little bit, or a lot of it, especially the last 10 years being sober. I guess the first few years of his life, while I was playing, I was playing for 6 years while he was still growing up, and his mom did a great job with bringing him to games or taking care of him early when I wasn't around. So I was only around during the off season, usually in the winter. But during the season in 2008 and 2009, when he was really little, her and him, we all lived together in Colorado Springs and Tulsa, Oklahoma. So but once we split up, she's a great mom. She took care of him. She did everything she could. And is still a great mom. And yeah, he's just grown up pretty quick, and it's going to be sad in a couple of years when he's out of here. So I don't know what the plan is, but it's going to be tough, man.
Just keep living every day, right? And enjoying every moment you've got with them, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right.
You better be at the gym right now, because he was supposed to go there. Yeah, you better be at the gym right now.
Not paying for that membership for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you.
It adds up, everything. Trust me,
it does. I have
2 kids.
Yes, it does.
For sure. Well, Christian Colonel, the head baseball coach at Highland High School. I said we'd have you for half an hour, and we went extras. We played like a double header here. It's been an hour. I'm sorry we went long and took up the time, but
that was my fault. I talk too much. Sorry.
No, you're good. You have so many interesting stories that all tie together and make you just the incredible person and leader in this community that you are. And so we really appreciate you coming on to talk with us. It's been great.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you guys. Sean, Brandon, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that. That's great. It's a what a journey, and hopefully we'll be on here talking about some more cool journeys about Highland baseball.
Yeah, hopefully we can beat a Boise team, beat a Boise pitcher once in a while.
Yep, it sounds like a plan. You guys did get the win over Middleton in that consolation game at state. That's a good stepping stone for sure. We'll keep an eye on you next spring. All right, Christian. Again, thanks. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. There you go, Sean. Christian Colonel, head baseball coach at Highland High School, and he's lived more in his one life than 10 people would live sometimes in 10 different lives.
Yeah, I mean, just and I've known Christian for a while, but it's like an onion, right? A blooming onion. There's so many layers to pull off, and that journey through baseball. I think everyone thinks like it's so easy, but baseball, and I mean any sport, but baseball and all those different layers and levels you have to go through, and how difficult that is. That's just what an incredible journey, and it's fascinating. I liked listening.
Yeah, seriously, it's one that I try not to go super long on these prep casts, but this one was just, there was too much good content and too much and he's a great conveyor and communicator. Obviously, you can see why he's a great coach. He communicates very well, and so there was a lot to unpack there, but hopefully everybody finds it enlightening and can take away some life. I know I did, just from getting to know him a little bit better through this whole process, and there's a lot of life lessons I'm taking away from this for sure. So
yeah, and just as far as I knew Christian, and but I still learned, and I think it's just a really good thing to think about. Is you think you know everything about someone or people or whatever, but there's so much more you can learn, and that's why it was great to have this time just to listen to his journey and just learn more about someone, and just another great coach in East Idaho.
Yep, for sure. So thank you for tuning into this off-season edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Again, this will be in every Prepcast feed. And next week, Sean, we will bring you our first, so we've done a Treasure Valley Prepcast interview with Ethan Ingram from Vision Charter, the first basketball player in school history to sign to play at the college level. We talked to Sun Valley Community School Athletic Director Richard Whitelaw on the Magic Valley Prepcast last week. We did Coach Colonel here today for the East Idaho Prepcast, and then next week it'll be we're making the trip around the circle here, North Idaho, the North Idaho Prepcast. We will be talking with Grangeville girls basketball coach Michelle Barger, and that should be a great time. So be on the lookout for that next week. Yeah,
it's great.
In the meantime, Sean, we are running our IdahoSports.com Team of the Year contest. We're down to the final 4. It's all based on fan voting. We basically picked 16 champions, 8 boys, 8 girls across 16 different team sports, set them up in a randomized bracket and had everybody vote. We're down to the final 4. It is the McCall Donnelly boys track and field team versus the Orofino baseball team. And then we have the Sugar Salem girls soccer squad versus the Kendrick football team. So we have one East Idaho team still in the running, the Lady Diggers from the soccer pitch. Everybody can go vote daily for their favorite team. So go vote.
Yeah, I know who Ryan Skaggs is going to vote for.
That's right. For sure. And one more thing, Sean, let me grab my prop here.
Oh, we got a prop?
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to do this, but here on the shelf. All right. This Saturday, the annual. The Oregon All-State Games, once again, will be broadcast on IdahoSports.com. You might be going, well, isn't it IdahoSports.com, not OregonSports.com? This is something we've done for several years. We always go over and broadcast. It's going to be 6th grade All-Star Game, 7th grade All-Star Game, 8th grade All-Star Game, all on the gridiron in Corvallis, Oregon. So you're going to get to see some of Oregon's best and brightest 6th, 7th, and 8th graders That'll be on Saturday, live on IdahoSports.com. So if you're looking for something fun to do, you can always tune in and watch the action. Me and Logan Green will be on the call for all those games, Sean. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, if you need some football, right? We kind of had a drought with it a little bit, get a little action. I know, people start watching Canadian leagues and stuff. This will be way better. Tune into Logan and Brandon.
Yeah, for sure. So those are the Oregon All-State football games this Saturday on IdahoSports.com. All right, Sean, we'll come back and do one more interview sometime in July. Guest to be determined. But until then, probably be a couple weeks since I next talk to you. Enjoy your summer. It's moving along fast already.
Oh man, it goes fast. I got summoned for jury duty. Yeah, it's summer, but no, it's good. It'll be good. You have safe travels on your way to the great state of Oregon, and I'll make sure Idaho's safe while you're gone.
Hey, I appreciate you looking after the old Gem State while I'm gone, for sure. All right. Thanks for tuning into the East Idaho Prepcast, everybody. Sorry we went long. North Idaho off-season interview next week right here on IdahoSports.com. For Sean Kane, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in to the East Idaho Prepcast on Idaho.